Hi everyone, my name is Jette. Welcome to this channel. I'm actually a YouTuber for over 10 years and this is so funny because this is the first video on this channel and I really wanted to do English videos for a while, so this is my first try and I decided to now make it international as well. So you're watching the English version of my German channel right now, and in today's video I will be trying to paint a still life. Something that I have never done before, but I've always been fascinated by still lifes. I'm not a professionally trained painter, so everything I know, I'm kind of self-teaching, watching tutorials, and that has worked out fine for me, but every now and then I like to challenge myself, and today is that day. So as a disclaimer, I'm not giving you a step-by-step tutorial on how to paint a still life. I'm just letting you be a part of the process of me figuring out and probably panicking trying to paint a still life. That's what you're in for. If that sounds good, please subscribe to this channel, leave a like. You know the YouTube things, they help out a lot, especially at the start, which this is my first video. It's so funny to me. But before I'm starting, I'm gonna give you a little bit of context into what still lifes actually are. It's mostly objects like vases, glasses, fruits, plants, plates, candles, instruments, and I always thought that the objects were just arranged aesthetically, but they actually have a meaning. For example, you often see skulls, dead leaves, or moldy food, which stands for the transience of life. And those are often combined with musical instruments that stand for entertainment or other riches like expensive clocks, jewelry, all that stuff. So like mainly fancy shit in contrast with dead things. And it basically means that all of the stuff that you have laying around means totally nothing because you're gonna die anyway. It's pretty dark if you ask me. Fun fact is that often painters used to draw self-portraits of themselves in objects like vases or glasses as like a reflection, as a self-portrait. And these reflections stand for beauty and the fleetness of beauty. And that also goes into the whole concept of life and death. And I'm trying to put it in a more modern context. So I'll be arranging a composition, I will be trying to tell a story with it. So that's how I will put meaning into the objects and not just choosing random things that I'm painting. Welcome to the studio. Hold on, there we go. I was thinking that this is kind of like a very good space to arrange the still life. I have a bunch of different decor items, fruit, and I want to modernize it as well. So I don't want to do like a traditional still life where it's a black background. I could do that, but I want to play with color and sort of contrast a little bit. I'm thinking the green would be nice, especially together with the pink tones as well from the different decor and the lighter green from the apples. I'm gonna let this be for now, and I'm gonna be here again another day because I want to paint this when it's light outside, when I have daylight. Right now I'm filming with artificial lighting, but so far I like how the composition turned out. Day number 2, welcome back to the studio. I just prepared everything. I'm working on a 1 meter by 80 centimeters, I can put that up in inches, canvas that I have already sketched the still life on. I've actually used a projector for this, which is just way more time efficient. Makes my life way easier. If you're up to a challenge, do it freehand. There are no rules to painting. You can do it however you want to. What's easiest for you, what you have the time for. I'm also going to be using oil paint because this isn't like hard enough. I need to make my life even harder. So I'm using oil paints, which I've done twice before, but I'm in no means a professional when it comes to oil paintings. What I'm going to be doing today is working on a base. So getting as much color as possible to the different surfaces without adding any detail. Even though I will be starting with the objects, I'm going to do an underpainting with acrylics before doing any of it. The reason why I'm starting with acrylics is because they dry way quicker than oil. And I do know a little bit about color from my design uni time. I've studied media design, so I know about color theory, and I know that when working on a dark canvas and a light canvas, there is going to be a difference in how you perceive the colors from the objects that you're painting. For example, if I were to paint a flower on a white background, then I would tend to use lighter colors out of instinct that wouldn't actually match the real flower. Whereas if I were to paint it with an actual dark green background, I would match the colors better. So if I had painted that flower and if I were then to add a dark background later, you can see here the difference in both of the colors. So having a dark background to start from is actually a very important step. That's like the only advice I really have. And I'm using acrylics because they dry quick. Within half an hour that's dry, and I can start adding the color surfaces on the other objects without like mixing paint from the background in accidentally.
Let's do the objects next. Here you can see me mixing a kind of like a black, gray, white sort of tone, and I'm applying that to the soda can, which is the next object that I will be painting. And here I definitely noticed that I would need a second, if not a third or a fourth layer on top because I couldn't really get the details in the first round. Maybe a more professional painter would have done this first try and it would be perfect. I'm not quite there yet, so we'll go step by step.
Welcome back. This is painting day number 2. I'm gonna try to do details today. I painted this 2 days ago, so I left it a little bit to dry. I put like a shit ton of like quick dry medium in the oil paint, so hopefully it's like gonna be less sticky and buildable. Now that we have a good basis to work with, I'm gonna do the details. The paint is still relatively sticky. Obviously, like the acrylic is dry. It dries within like 30 minutes, and this takes like a week. Let's go. Also, the lighting is way better today. The last few days it was so dark, no sunlight. Today I have a bunch of sunlight. I even had to close the curtains. So hopefully I'm gonna be able to create the same like lighting system here, which obviously now with different lighting, everything's looking different on the still life as well. Yeah, wish me luck.
Now I'm back reworking the soda can, and you can see me adding a second layer that has way more lighter tones. So I'm adding more detail with each layer. I have also reworked the leaves of the flowers. I have never painted a rose before either, so that has definitely been a challenge as well. I am happy with how it turned out. I think it's not that bad for the first time. Here you can see me reworking the vase, so I was just kind of painting objects after objects. The candlesticks as well, which I think were very difficult. I didn't expect them to be that hard to paint, especially the texture and sort of the twisted look of the candles. For the glass, since I had painted the background in dark green before, I could just add the second layer over that, and that has just been this kind of purple reddish tone. And since the glass is transparent, I needed that background layer first. It was kind of a never-ending painting session. When I had one thing done, the next thing was even more difficult. I think the hardest for me personally was the grapes. I found them very difficult, the texture of them. I have never painted fruits before, so definitely a first as well.
5 hours later, this is as far as I'm going today. I'm getting pretty tired, my hand is hurting. I really have to take a break, but I didn't get as much done today as I had hoped. I'm gonna call it a day and come back here in 2 days. Hopefully it's gonna dry down a little bit more.
Then I started reworking the rest of the objects, like the apple, which the background, as you can see here, is completely dried, so I could just work over that. And here you can kind of see the technique that I'm using. So going in with the darkest color first, sort of with a middle shade, and then doing the highlights, and always kind of mixing and blending and building it darker and darker with each layer, and then doing highlights in the end. So that's basically how you are building the depth to the objects and making them look, well, like 3D essentially. This took way longer than I had anticipated. Also the peanut flips, or whatever they're called, I don't know, those took so long. I have no idea how best to paint them. It's way more abstract than I had planned it to be, but yeah, it is what it is. It's not even that bad in the end, but I wasn't really happy with it.
Okay, I feel like I'm painting and painting and painting, and it's not like getting better. And I'm beginning to feel a little bit frustrated because I was planning to finish this today, and it's like, that's not gonna happen. There isn't a chance that's gonna get finished today. However, I have a little bit of hope in the background, so I'm gonna be mixing the same shade of green, and I'll try to do a better shading of the background. And once that's gonna be more opaque, I can try to define the contours of the objects a little bit better. I feel like the whole vibe is way softer now that I have painted the background and the draping of the cloth. I do want to have a little bit of a higher contrast, so make the lights a little lighter and the darks a little darker on some parts where the fabric is draped. So that's what I'm doing today. I will probably not be finished today. I'm trying. Is it realistic? Not really. Reworking the background might have taken 2 hours. We won't talk about it. Next, I will be working on the details, so all the highlights of the different objects, kind of perfecting everything. So all of these objects still need light reflection. Right now, they're still pretty flat, and I want to give them more depth.
And that is the last layer that I did, and I worked with almost like a white tone and just doing the highlights of the soda can, for example, and you can see it making the vase look way smoother than before, and I think you can see it especially well in the glass texture that I did for the candle holders as well. So I'm paying attention to a lot of detail, which before I have just done sort of layers of color, and now I'm working in light reflections.
Okay, I think I'm finished. I literally repainted every single area on the canvas today. And there are still tiny details I might add later. But if you are curious as to what changes I'm doing, for example, like the titles of the books are still missing because like the background is wet, so I can't add it on top. But I will be sharing that on my Instagram, which is just my name. It's just Jette. And you can go ahead and follow me there. That would mean a lot, as well as subscribe here. This is my result. This is my still life. It's not bad. I'm curious to see how well my technique's going to be changing the more I'm doing this. But yeah, maybe I could encourage you to try something new yourself. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be a beginner at something. I hope you liked this video, and I see you next week. Bye!